Yo guys, how's it going? My name's Umzi and welcome back to another video on Fault. This time around we're carrying on with the how-to series. We're going to be going through the mid lane and seeing how you guys can maximize your results in the mid lane and try to get the best possible outcome. How you guys can outdo your enemy mid laner, how you can help your other team, because mid laners do have more than just their lane as their job. And we're going to be going through all of that. First thing I want to start with is CS. CS is, a lot of these things are going to be repeated compared to the other videos that I've made on my how-to series, because a lot of stuff is very similar in no matter what your lane is. For example, CS. Winning over CS means you win your lane, even if you do die a few times. This also means you have an advantage over the enemy laner and maybe even enemy team, which allows you to go into other lanes more often, which allows you to eventually help your other lanes in leading to your every lane winning, which leads to you winning the game. Now, as a mid laner, I would say the best people to go as mid lane are people that have burst abilities. For example, Countess, Gideon, Belica, these three are very conventional mid laners. However, other people can be used in mid. For example, Quang in mid I've come across, and it's honestly not that bad, because you can use his his Q right click, his QE right click combo just to poke the enemy mid lane constantly, and it's just very, very good. But yeah, so getting straight into the video, first thing I want to talk about is your ability combos. Now, being a burst champion as a mid laner, you want to know what the best possible ability combos you have. For example, I'll go over the very, very small ones. I'm not going to go over every champion, but I'll go over the mid laners. For example, like I said with Countess. So Countess, it's you want to dash into someone with your Q, you want to use your E, then your right click. As much as you can, you want to kill stuff, or including minions or enemies, with your right click, because this allows for you to regen some of their HP back due to her passives. Now, Gideon, his combination is more Q, right click, Q again, because of his passive. Gideon's passive is that when you use your Q, and then if you use one of your slow abilities, for example your right click, it actually resets the cooldown on one of your basic abilities. So you can instantly Q after you right click, even if you've used it before. This means you can technically use 3 of your rocks in the space of around 3 seconds if you use this perfectly, which is pretty insane, and the damage is immense. Now, Belica, her combo is more using your drone at the right time. That differs depending on when you think's the best time, but her main combination is her Q into her right click, because you always want to stun before you use your bomb, because that way it makes the most of your bomb, because sometimes people can just walk out of the bomb. But yeah, those are the conventional mid laners. Quang, for example, I've already gone over. You want to do his Q, E, right click, E before anything, because that does get rid of some energy armor, meaning your energy attacks are going to do more damage. So your right click does more damage if you use your E first. But yeah, that's your ability combos. You always want to use those and just keep poking the enemy mid laner until they're low, and then your jungler can come help you, or you can just finish them by yourself. Now, next thing I want to talk about is ward placement. Ward placement is very, very important in mid lane. In my opinion, the most important out of all the lanes, because there's not 1 or 2 different places that you can get ganked by, but there's actually 6. There's 3 on your left and 3 on your right, because there's 3 different types of fog walls and shadow planes that people can be behind, especially enemy junglers such as Sevrog and Chimera find it very easy to gank mid lane due to their abilities. So you always want to be placing wards behind you rather than in front of you. For example, if the fog wall to your left and behind you, that's the best possible place. So the yellow fog walls is an example of this. Also, another good place to put it is also the middle fog walls, which are split between both laners. There's no need to actually put a ward next to the enemy's yellow fog wall, because that is, just be careful around that area. Otherwise, putting 6 wards in one lane is just not needed. Now, next thing I want to talk about is wave management. I've talked about this in all my other videos. Wave management is very, very important, because it is the reason you always end up winning in CS if you know how to manage your waves properly. Now, as I've said in the previous videos, I'll go over it again. Wave management, there's 2 different things. There's freezing your wave and forcing your wave. Freezing your wave is best when you're doing it near your tower and the enemy mid laner is with you and not at base, because that way you are just forcing them to push up, so it's an easy gank for your jungler. And you want to force the wave when the enemy mid laner goes back to base, or when you are about to go back to base. Bear in mind, forcing your wave does mean that you are susceptible to a gank, so just be careful on that. You want to do that when you have some wards around. But yeah, so that's all I want to talk about wave management wise. There's not much else to it, but there is actually a thing that I want to talk about wave priority. Like I've said in the other videos, wave priority is basically how far your lane is pushed up into the enemy lane. So for example, if your wave and the enemy wave is both stuck under your tower, you have 0 wave priority. But if your wave and the enemy wave is pushed into their tower, that is maximum wave priority. Wave priority basically means who has to kill the wave first in order to help the other lanes. So for example, if I have maximum wave priority, I can actually go left lane without losing any farm. However, if the wave's pushed into me and I have 0 wave priority, I have to first clear my wave, then I can help other lanes. If I have maximum wave priority, it actually allows me to get to a team fight before the enemy mid laner. This could change a team fight because a delayed team fight for the enemy team could lead to you getting the first 2 kills or first kill, which allows you to always have the advantage in numbers. Now, talking about ganking lanes, you always want to try and gank left and right lane as a mid laner, because it's not only the jungler's job. For example, if the jungler is ganking right lane, the enemy right laner is always going to think, oh, the jungler's on my lane, so you can play aggressive on left lane. But no, if you're missing at mid lane, you can go and help by doing a parallel gank, by going to the other lane that your jungler is not in, and you can go and gank that lane because they are not going to expect it. Same thing, or what you can do if your jungler is gank left lane, you can go gank right lane. However, there's also a common gank, so you can also gank alongside your jungler. So for example, if you help gank right lane while your jungler is also going right lane, this leads to a 3v1 on right lane, which is 9 times out of 10 always going to be a kill, especially if he hasn't warded it, which a lot of people don't do in this game. But yeah, so another thing that I did want to talk about was that, so you want to always help by ganking your lanes. Whenever you are doing this, however, you always want to have maximum wave priority, so you're not losing out on farm in mid lane while you are helping other lanes. Another thing that I do want to talk about is energy armor. Energy armor is very, very good to have as a mid laner sometimes. This is why you see a lot of Belicas and a lot of countesses got War Rages as their first item. This is because War Rages not only gives you energy power, but it also gives you energy armor. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be versing a burst champion or someone based on abilities, such as Belica, Gideon and Countess, against you on your mid lane. So if you build energy armor, you're actually not going to be taking that much damage from them compared to what they're dishing out to you. So basically, you're going to be doing way more damage than what they are giving off to you, which can be really good, which means leading to you being able to get more damage to them, and your trades are going to be better. Now, trading is basically where you and the enemy mid laner use all your abilities and your pokes at the same time, and you obviously want to have a good trade. This means you end up doing more damage and taking less damage during the trade. If you constantly keep having good trades, eventually you're going to have the advantage in lane, leading your lane to be an easy gank for the teammate jungler, or even you can just go in for the kill with your ult at the end. Now, the last thing that I do want to talk about is by getting your escapes/stuns. Now, your escapes/stuns can help you as a mid laner quite a lot. For example, being a Gideon level 1 mid lane, you are one of the easiest ganks for an enemy jungler. Now, you don't normally expect the gank at level 1, but it happens quite a lot. If the enemy jungler gets their red buff first, it actually gets them level 2, which means, for example, if you're versing a Sevrog, Sevrog will have his Siphon and his Subjugate by the time you've only killed your first 2 lane minions. And he will come through the left fog wall, and he'll easily be able to kill you. Now, the last few things that I do want to talk about is why you want to get your escapes and your stuns. Getting your escapes and your stuns leads you to have easier ganks. For example, being a countess, if you get your Q as one of your first items, it is much easier, not your first items, one of your first abilities, it is much easier to go to left lane and cover that distance that you might not be able to if they have it warded. So it leads for you to have much higher chances of actually managing to have a successful gank. On the other hand, it's also useful getting your escapes/stuns, for example, being Belica or being Gideon. So if you get your escape level 2 rather than level 3, it actually allows you to be able to escape the enemy jungler if they do end up ganking a bit later than a level 2. However, being a level 1, my best advice to you is to ward up your fog wall on your enemy's red side. So it is easier for you to see them coming, which allows you to start running away in advance. Now, finally, Belica's Q is both an item that you want to use to... an ability that you want to use to gank, and also an ability that you want to use to stop an enemy from ganking. This is really, really good for Belica and mid laners because it just prevents the enemy from being able to kill you. Now, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about during this video. For example, I'm just going to go over everything. Most important things: CS wins your lane, which eventually helps you win your teammates' lanes, which eventually helps you win the game. That's the best possible thing you can do. Just get your CS and get ahead of the rest of the enemies. Know your ability combos and what ability to use when, which is really good. Know your ward placement and where is the best place to ward and what is the best timings to ward. You know how to manage your wave efficiently, so it leads to you being able to help your team, or if it forces the enemy to not get much farm. Gank your side lanes as much as you can at the right times, which helps your team out. Make sure you're building some sort of sustain, and make sure you're building some sort of armor that prevents the enemies from doing damage to you, so you're not just being a full glass cannon. Always try to have wave priority at the right times, because it can be the difference in a team fight or even something big like Raptors. So for example, you would always want to go get maximum wave priority around 10 minutes so you can easily help your team with Raptors. Even if you don't end up winning Raptors or lose the team fight, you've resulted in making the enemy mid laner miss out a lot of his farm if he doesn't save his farm first before he goes into the Raptor fight. And finally, always know your escapes and stuns against the enemy junglers and enemy supports, which can also help gank your lanes, and enemy mid laner. So it's always best to use those at the right time and always use them as a combination with your wards. Overall, that's my video on how to play mid lane efficiently and well, resulting in as many wins as possible. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys do have any questions, make sure to comment them down below. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe down below for way more content because I've got a lot more planned. Next, I'm going to be uploading how to support as another video. And eventually, I'm going to go through every single one of the 14 champions. And then eventually all the next few champions coming in the later months. I'm going to be doing quite a lot of videos on how-tos. So don't worry, the series is nowhere near over. But yeah, peace!